From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy.
The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, Blowout turns a barn burner. How do you interpret the loss to Miami? Corey brings up a troubling trend over the last 6 years. And is it all on the line for the Noles against Pitt? Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com. Shake it, take it. But also buy one and get one free when you use the promo code warchantbogo. That's Warchant B-O-G-O. Clinically tested, clinically proven, award-winning, patent-pending, everything you want in your favorite energy shot. Tastes delicious. 260 milligrams of all-natural caffeine and no sugar. Energy lasting you up to 7 hours. And then the benefits of the vitamins, the nutrients. Get the mood right for this coming week, everybody. Pitt, big game. Get the focus right. Monday, big project due. Wednesday, end of quarter. I don't know. I'm looking at the calendar all wrong. Try it out, though. VitaminEnergy.com. WarchantBogo, the promo code. Buy one, get one free. Warchant.com remains the ultimate Seminole sports source. Come on down, everybody, for only $1 a week and a year subscription to The Athletic. For real. Come check us out. Sign up. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, rate, review, all the other things, and give a warm welcome to the one, the only, Corey Clark, coming off a hot weekend. Our guy out there, face of the program at the meet and greet Friday at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. We'll give some shout-outs maybe later on. And then our guy still got the fastball, man. Thought your column after the game on Saturday, one of your best. Looking forward to many more of those over the years to come as you lead us to the great heights over at warchant.com. Right. Corey Clark, everybody. What's up, Corey?
Hey, Aslan. How are you, buddy? Thanks for the shout out. Thanks for the warm words. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So real quick, man, we left Saturday, myself and Abby, to come to the tailgate, and she spilled something on her shirt.
Yeah,
and she's
sorry
like,
about that.
Can you tell? And I'm like, nah, you're fine. Yeah. And, I'm sure everybody knows how it is. Like when you got a significant other and they're worried about their appearance. And like, it's fine. Or no one will recognize it. Shout out to our guy, Corey Clark. Apparently the first thing he said when he saw her was like, what's that on your shirt? So thank you, Corey.
That's incorrect. It wasn't the first thing I said. Y'all had been there for at least a half hour. I had engaged in a conversation.
Okay.
When I noticed it for the third time, I'm like, you know what? I am curious what that is. Was she eating a hot dog? Was it mustard? So, yeah, I apologize to Abby and you. But yeah, it was like yellow on white, so it wasn't that noticeable. Yeah, you were right. Yeah. You just had to be staring really hard at her chest. So anyway,
moving along.
What about this game? What about this game on Saturday night, Aslan?
Back-to-back losses for our Noles, everybody. Florida State drops this one to Miami, 28-22. And I'm going to get right to it, Corey. I mean, at one point, you're probably writing a story if you're a guy like Ira Schofel, and the headline is Blowout, Florida State loses to Miami. But at some point, you have to change that. And I don't know, it reads, comeback falls short. Feels like neither is completely accurate. Which one is more accurate? Did Florida State get blown out, or did the clock just run out on the good guys?
I mean, yeah, it's a good question. The score is the score, right? When you lose by 6, it's not a blowout. But for 3 hours, you made your fans feel like they were getting blown out. It was a commendable comeback, legitimately. Like, because I was writing that column too. Like, I was going kind of scorched earth on the whole thing. I thought it was a no-show. I thought it was a complete disappearing act by a team that is better than that. It's not like I pulled any punches in the column anyway necessarily.
Nope.
But I toned it down a little bit because I was impressed with the way they came back. I was writing it as if the final score was going to be 42-3, which I thought it was going to be. And then the fact that you made it where if you recover one of those onside kicks, man, who knows? Now, obviously, we all understand how football works, and Miami was playing different defense than they had been. I get it. Maybe those were empty points in the fourth quarter. Maybe they weren't. But with 30 seconds left, they're at least a little nervous. You made them a little nervous that they had to go recover an onside kick for the third time. Guys, let's get to work on the onside kicks, by the way, gang. Come on now. Let's get them to go 10 yards.
Well,
let's make them a little harder to recover.
Second one was close, but the first.
But only because the Miami guy kind of darted up for it for some reason.
Yeah.
I think both can be true. I think you can applaud the comeback and then also be really, really frustrated and angry about the way that team came out and played the first three quarters, the way it looked nervous, the way it looked unsure of itself. It was just it was a horrible showing. Miami's good, man. Miami's better than you. They're not that much better than you. Why did you melt down in the moment and they didn't? And as I wrote in the column, why do you look like a completely different team than the one that we saw August 30th against Alabama, who I think is as good, is at least close to as good as Miami? Why did you look so much better against them than you do now? And why does this always seem to happen to this program, where the best game you play is the first game you play? And then as the season goes, you progressively get worse. That's not ideal, but I feel like that's happened quite a bit. And you feel good about things. And look, man, I'll go ahead and say this. This will be a talking point all week on every platform I'm on. I think Mike Norvell might be potentially coaching for his job this Saturday.
Ooh.
Not that it's a do or die and he's going to be fired if they lose. My thought process with that is, if they lose on Saturday, and that's a big if, they're a 10-point favorite, they're at home, I still think they're a good team. I really do.
Yeah.
But if they lose, if they spiral, because we've seen it before, man, he does not get the benefit of the doubt to think they're going to unspiral because we've seen it. If they lose at home to Pitt, they are going to lose to Florida. They are going to lose to Clemson. They are probably going to lose to NC State, because if you can lose to Pitt, I assume you're going to lose to those three teams. And now you're staring at a 6-6 record at best when you started out 3-0. So you finished the season on a 3-6 streak after going 2-10. That's how important I think this Pitt game is. I think if they beat Pitt, they legitimately could win 9 games or 10. I don't know. I mean, I do think there's a chance they have played the 3 toughest games on their schedule already, and they went 1-2. I probably still lean towards at Clemson and at Florida being tougher than at Virginia. We just don't know what those teams are going to look like by the time you play them, because that's still so far away. That Virginia team's a good team, man. It's not a great team, but it's a good team. They're 18th in the country or whatever. You also play the number 2 team in the country and the number 8 team in the country. So you've had a tough schedule except for those 2 gimmies. You went 1-2. You're 3-2, which is kind of what we all thought you would be after 5 games, or hope you would be after 5 games coming into the season. But it's just how it looked those first 3 quarters, man.
How?
That's what bothered me the most.
How do they come out looking like that, Corey? When all weekend long we hear, the players are talking about it's going to be a bloodbath. The coaching staff talks about they want them to play with emotion. They need to pour their emotion. I want them to play with all the emotion. And then, the first drive, I mean, listen, I don't, we can sit here and talk about if, the kid from Wisconsin that transferred into Miami, of Lucas, if he gets called for pass interference on Deuce, that changes the complexion.
Which
maybe
it
you get
was. Which it was. Yeah.
Maybe if you get 7 instead of 3, because listen, one of my Miami buddies, after the first Miami drive, I need to see if I can quickly pull this up without having to waste too much time. But man, he was out on his guys, and he thought Beck mailed it in. Beck looked uninterested in playing the game. And then they end up, going on a bit of a tear. So, how does Florida State end up looking so strong on that first drive? Shades of Dublin, Ireland last year, right? And then things just kind of go sideways all of a sudden and I know you didn't watch the telecast, Corey, because you were at the game. But I was at home, and they showed Norvell walking with the team through the tunnel and getting ready to go through the sheet cutout or whatever. Man, he had a smirk on his face of, supreme confidence, like something special's about to happen, and nothing even close to special really happened.
Yeah, and look, man, I don't. It's not his offense, so it's hard to blame. It's his team, clearly, but it's not his offense, so it's hard to blame him for the offense's mistakes, and it's hard to blame him because they can't tackle Malachi, right?
Tony.
Malachi Tony.
Yeah.
Jeez, Louise, that
My
kid.
gosh,
that's something else they got there. But it's like I just. In the column, I kind of wrote about. I wrote about in 2022. They had a great start, on top of the world, feeling good. A good road win at Louisville after the LSU game. Come home and stomp Boston College. You're feeling great, and you lay an absolute egg against Wake Forest. You lay an absolute egg the next home game against Clemson, which neither one of those teams were great. You could have won those games for sure. and you get down by 2-3 touchdowns in both those games too.
And you didn't look great against NC State in the first half either. It was like a second half rally, I think, right, that made it close?
No, I don't think so. I think they were ahead at half, but it doesn't matter. Like that was a good NC State team that was on the road. I'm talking about when you get this fan base really interested in what you're doing. You give them a big moment in Doak where they want to come and celebrate their fandom and celebrate you, hopefully, and your team, and hopefully look at and watch and enjoy a big win, and then you consistently underperform. And I have talked for 2 years about that wins matter. Wins are the only thing that matters, and they do. So I don't want it to sound like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. That 2023 team did go 13-0. They won every game they were supposed to win. But why did they look so good against LSU? And then by the time they're playing Miami 2 months later, a much worse Miami team than the LSU team they were playing, a Miami team that was playing a true freshman quarterback that literally couldn't hold Jaden Daniels' towel for him, you're in a tight game in the fourth quarter, and you need a punt return by Keon Coleman to basically kind of put that game out of the reach, and even then it didn't. They had a chance at midfield down by 4 points or something, and that was not a good Miami team. It's like they get nervy. Yeah. And is that the top-down thing, or is that just that's what I wonder about, man. And I don't want to – I'll equate it to this. I don't care. People always complain about Mike Martin's baseball teams looking different in the postseason. Looking different in Omaha. I haven't put a lot of validity in that, man. It's hard to win in Omaha. And to get to Omaha, you have to be a good postseason team just by the very definition of how you'd get there. You have to win games in the postseason, do-or-die games, to even get to Omaha. So it's not like they're choking. It's not like they're too nervous. But they would seem to let the moment, I don't know, deflate them. They wouldn't rise to the moment a lot of the times, those Florida State baseball teams. Some of them just weren't good enough. Some of them didn't rise to the moment. Mike Norvell's teams, it seems to me, have a history of not rising to the moment once their expectations heaped upon them. You beat the number 8 team in the country. You're top 10 the very next week. And now here you are riding a 2-game losing streak. Just like in 2022. You win 4 in a row. You're in the top 20. You lose 3 in a row and you disappear out. Yeah, you went on a 6-game winning streak to end that season. But yeah, the expectations were gone after that. Then even let's fast forward to 2023, man. You look like the best team in the country when you dominate LSU. And I mean dominate. It was 45-17, and that team was full of NFL pros, including the Heisman winner. You dominated that team, and you dominated the second half. 2 weeks later, you need a face mask penalty on Lawrence Toafili to beat Boston College. Like, what is happening where the team, once they show how good they can be, kind of never show that again? That's where I wonder about that. That's all that I was thinking about on Saturday night is why is this happening again with a big moment in a big game where his team is not rising up to the moment? And you can say they did, Corey, against Alabama. Sure, but there were no expectations then, man. You were just hoping to keep it close. You go and win the game, awesome. Well, now you become the hunted. There's a target on you, and his teams don't play well with the target on them, with a number next to their names. You know, they played their asses off against Notre Dame in 2021. They looked like a really good team. They took them to overtime. They went on a 4-game losing streak after that. Once people started talking about Florida State, it's like, oh, Florida State might be better than you think. No, they're not. This year, Florida State might be really they might be the real deal. They might be one of the best teams in the country. Man, they're down 28-3 at home in the fourth quarter. Why? So as you can tell, I'm a little bit frustrated the more I think about it. I don't want that to come off as I think this season is over. It's not. I do think this is a very good offense. I think the quarterback had a bad day, but I think that was a really good defense and a pretty tough matchup. Gus Malzahn talked about it. Like they rushed 5 a lot of the times, which means you're having to block those dudes one-on-one, and it's a hard ask. And Tommy did feel the rush more than a little bit.
Ooh,
they also played back a lot. So you couldn't even beat them downfield with big plays because they would play a soft cover 3, and they knew they could get home with 4 or 5 guys. And it was a tough matchup.
Especially after Micah Pettis went out too, right?
Right, and you couldn't run the ball on them that well. I think most teams that will try that, Florida State will be able to run upon. Miami isn't that team. So it's a bad matchup for the offense, and I do commend what they did, and I think that will be the best defense they face, and it might be I think it's probably the best team they're going to face. The season's not over. They can rip off 7 straight wins. They really can. That's not me being a homer or pie in the sky. That's why this game is so important, man, because as I wrote in the column, this season's going to break one of 2 ways. It's either going to be a nice season with a couple of tough losses, which look around the country, man. It's hard to win. Penn State will tell you. Texas will tell you. Or it's going to derail. And I think it all comes down to Saturday, man. If you beat Pitt, I feel like you're right back on solid footing. You got Stanford, who you should beat. I think you got Wake after that. All of a sudden, you feel pretty good. If you handle business, you're 6-2 going to Clemson. And you're ranked probably 14th in the country. And you're literally, like, maybe not 14th, but 16th, right? They're still 25th.
They are hanging in there.
So if you win the next 2 games, which are eminently winnable, you're going to be favored probably close to double-digit. You're almost a double-digit favorite this weekend. You might be against Stanford, too, depending on how this one goes. You take care of those games, you're 5-2. Then you got I can't remember the order of the games that are coming.
Yeah, so it's Pitt, Stanford, bye week, and then it's Wake Forest, then it's Clemson, then I think you have Virginia Tech, then NC
so Pitt,
State.
Stanford, and Wake theoretically should be wins. They should be wins. You're favored.
Yes.
You're 6-2 at that point, and this is a good, fun season. And I do think that can happen. I really do. The animosity, not even the animosity, just the frustration you hear in my voice is because they just laid that egg on Saturday night, and it was tough to watch. And it reminded me of the 2022 Clemson game. It reminded me of name another game. Like it wasn't fun to watch, and it was really disappointing. It was a really disappointing effort, and I don't know why they seem to play so tight in those moments, but they do. And I don't know why they don't get better as the season goes along, but they don't have a habit of doing that. But this could be the turning point. This is the turning point. You win this game, I wholeheartedly believe you're 6-2 going into Clemson. And you feel pretty darn good about things. And if you win that game, buddy, who knows? Then you're probably, 8-2 going to NC State. Then you've had a great year already compared to where you came from. But, yeah.
That does not feel very likely, though. I don't know.
Because of the way they showed up in the first 3 quarters, right?
And then everything you talked about in the past, if you want to go back to 2020, they beat number 5 North Carolina. The next week they go to Louisville, and they looked horrible. Then they lost to Pitt after that, and they lost to NC State after that, too. So, every single season there's pretty much like these weird lulls. And I bring it back to this, Corey. My brother is pretty level-headed, and, he says, how much longer can Norvell be our coach? Not saying he's got to go tomorrow, but I think we've seen enough, really. Well, the thing is, things are different now, right? Like, he's given up play calling control. He went and got a hot shot defensive coordinator. So, what are we hoping out of the head coach? Like, when you have a head coach in this sort of situation where you've went and got all these experienced guys, you went and got this quarterback that's supposed to fit really well with your offensive coordinator. Like, if he's not responsible for calling the plays, and I don't know if he makes that 4th and 8 decision, whose decision that was, and we'll get to that here in a little bit. But I thought he's taking so much off of his plate that he's going to have clear mind. He's going to be able to tap back into being a more of a relational head coach, getting the best out of the guys, coaching them up emotionally, mentally, so that they're ready for these sort of situations. And, to your point, like when things get ramped up, like this team does not rise to the occasion.
Yeah. This team or this program? I think that's what you have to ask. Yeah, I think that's what you have to ask yourself, because this team still has – we don't know its identity yet. It still has a chance to forge an identity. It still has a chance to go down like the 2022 team did. Look, I know I just lamented the fact that they lost 3 in a row. They did come back and win 6 straight. Those were, pretty easy games all told, because so many of those teams were on backup quarterbacks. But they need – I was thinking about this. You remember the 2022, how they ended the losing streak? You remember that game at all? It was Georgia Tech. It was at home.
Coming out of the bye week, yeah.
Yeah, coming out of the bye. I don't think it was coming out of the bye. I thought the Clemson game was coming out of the bye week. I don't remember. But it was. They lost 3 in a row. They're playing a Georgia Tech team who's on their backup quarterback. They did have a bye week.
It was October 15th. They lost to Clemson. Then it was October 29th when they played Georgia Tech.
So they come back, and they don't look horrible, but they look really sloppy the first quarter.
Yeah.
They have like a crazy fumble on a wildcat play.
Yeah, they move the ball like down the field really quickly, but then end up like shooting themselves in the foot with some stuff. Yeah.
So the point being, they even looked nervy on that fourth game, but the talent disparity was so much that eventually they just took control of the game and dominated, and they started to run again. They felt good about themselves, and they started to run. This team needs that, and it needs to happen Saturday. And if it happens Saturday, then again, I don't think you could sit here and say Norvell isn't the guy. You might be looking back on this season saying, hey, man, they went 9-3 or 10-2. They're 15th in the country. And one of those losses was in double overtime to a top 20 team. The other one was to the number 1 team in the country by 6 points. Teams lose. He doesn't get the benefit of the doubt right now, though, because of that's 7 straight ACC losses, man. I think he's like, it's 1-8 in his last 9 or 1-9 in his last 10 ACC games. Like, it's been gross. There's no shame in losing to Miami. There's also no shame in getting down 28-3. It's disappointing, but they didn't give up. They did play hard. They didn't just roll over. And I really hope that that's what they build upon. But it also could have just been like an empty quarter and empty points and empty yards when the game was already decided. And now against Pitt, the pressure comes back. And if they get in another hole, how are they going to react? Because that's why I'm saying this game is so important. I literally think it's a coin flip. Whether they play well, they're playing a true freshman quarterback making his first road start. Is he going to look more nervous than your veteran quarterback? That's what you hope. But but we'll see, right? I don't know what to expect from that game. I just know it's an enormous game for the future of Mike Norvell. Because if he loses that game, it's all on the table for where this thing goes by the end of the year. If he wins that game, it's almost all on the table. It's a really important game, clearly. But you lost two in a row, but they're not embarrassing losses. It's just that when you're coming off the season you had, and we've seen this movie before a few times. Yeah, you can wonder if this is the guy. Everybody listen to this is right to wonder if Mike Norvell is the guy. And it's not just because they lost to Miami, though, right, Aslan? Because they were underdogs. They started out as 7.5-point underdogs. If you got it then, congrats on the win. You won a bet. Yeah. But it's because of how it looked and how his team looked for the first 3 quarters. That's why it was so frustrating. Not just the loss itself to a really good team, but the with a bunch of NFL players, but the way it looked through the first 2.5 hours of that game.
Yeah, and I don't know why though, but like that feels more like who they probably are than what Alabama was. Like the further we get from Alabama, Alabama feels like this kind of weird anomaly, magical weekend, everything, confluence of events just kind of came together and you took advantage of it.
But the counter to that is that doesn't mean it's true.
Right.
It feels like that though, right?
Yes.
Like they have 7 games to define what they are still. Nothing has been defined. That was a bad night. It just happened to follow another not great night. But it's a bad night. It doesn't dictate the season unless you let it. And what I worry about is that it has been one bad performance turns into 2 bad performances, turns into a team with very little confidence.
And not a lot to play for. Things are still, to your point, like ACC, Charlotte, Chase is still, even though you're 0-2, like it's still a reasonable pathway possibly. You lose the Pitt, you're 0-3 in conference. Not that guys are going to start opting out, but how engaged are guys going to be? There's nothing really to play for other than trying to play spoiler against Clemson or Florida. And not even spoiler, but just trying to take out a rival,
Yeah. But, again, the flip side of that is they're not out of it yet. Even if we probably know that even if they won out, they would probably figure out a reason for them not to go. The players don't know that. And I think Tommy even mentioned that in the postgame, that it's a 12-team playoff now.
Yeah.
And look, as we sit here talking right now, they're 25th in the country. Look at the teams from 10 to 24 and tell me that you don't think a few L's are coming that way. And you can pass teams. You can pass multiple teams. Of course, if an SEC team gets hot, look out. They're going to shoot past you. Even though you did beat Alabama, whatever. I'm not ready. I'm not giving up on this coach. I'm not giving up on this team. But watching that game, I think a lot of us were asking the same question: is this, as your friend was asking, is he the right guy? Can he do this? He's shown he can win. He's won 19 straight games not that long ago. But his seasons have always had, other than 2023, there have been mighty dips in them. Losing to Miami is not a dip. What concerns me the most is how unrecognizable that team on Saturday night looked compared to the one that started the season. Where does their confidence go? Is it just dictated by the opponent? Where does their confidence go? Why did they look like a completely different team? And I guess I'm talking about offense, because offense is where you're nervy, but then the defense made some mistakes too, clearly. Why do they just, again, it's easy when you're shocking the world. But when you all of a sudden have expectations and the weight of the season and you're actually playing for real stakes, that this program's got to get better at that.
We say that though, Corbett. They were the underdog. Nobody outside these four walls, Florida State fans, really thought Florida State was going to beat Miami. So I don't think the expectation.
I don't know that's true, man. There's a 4-point spread. Vegas isn't dumb. They don't just lower spreads or they don't make spreads just on a whim. I think Miami was favored to win clearly, but gosh darn, they weren't UCLA playing Penn State. There was a home game. It wasn't like it was delusional to think that Florida State could beat Miami.
No, you're right, but I don't know. Was the pressure? I guess the pressure was on because they had lost their ACC title or their ACC opener. This was Miami's ACC opener.
Well, and also I thought Florida State looked, as we saw in Charlottesville, looked really nervy there too. It's not just the Miami game; it's how they came out against Virginia too.
Well, we called that. We chalked that up to 3 weeks of not playing anybody, really. So it's an interesting thing. We'll continue to talk about it, and we hope to keep the conversation going with you folks over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill on Friday.
Is the show over? Oh, okay.
No, we got to talk to our friends over at CP, the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachian Parkway. 5 p.m. happy hour on Friday. Come on out and say hi. I'll try to make it back up there. Maybe some vitamin energy. Everybody come out and say hi to Corey and myself. Have delicious food, ice cold beverages, diversions galore, darts, billiards, jukebox, televisions, football, frivolity, friendship. It's all at the CP. We'll do the shout outs at the end of the show, I think, Corey. But will you be around Tuesday to defend not to defend, but just to show face for the trivia, let everybody know that the big dog's in town trying to eat?
I believe so. And I want to say this. There were at least 5 people that came up to me on Friday night and said they tried the corn dog bites because of me.
Okay. There you go, Bill.
Just saying that.
There you go, Bill.
Nobody was disappointed. Bill, I hope you're happy, buddy. I'm selling those things. They're flying off the shelf.
Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachian Parkway. Weekday happy hours, 4 to 7 p.m. Daily lunch specials, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Place open until 2 in the morning. Go hang out. We're back. It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com, warchantbogo, your promo code. I don't know, do we want to get a little granular here, Corey, and just talk about some of the pivotal situations in this game?
Yeah.
We mentioned, the deuce pass interference on the first drive, subsequent drive where you're facing 4th and 8, you're on the Miami 41, so you're on the plus 41. I preemptively went in our group chat because somebody was like, I can't believe they just they're going for it. And I'm on a delay because of my TV. I'm like, well, did they really go for it? They're like, I don't know. They just called a timeout. And I'm like, well, they're going to go for it if they call it timeout. I'm like, I hate this sport so much that we're now at a point where going for it on 4th and 8 in the first half of a 1-possession game is a real debatable topic. I didn't like the idea of it all. I feel like you were okay with it on Saturday night, but you might have evolved overnight as we then reconvened on Sunday and talked about things. But just that was one moment in I don't know, 3 or 4 kind of pivotal plays, but obviously they don't get the 4th and 8. He throws an interception. Tommy does. It's returned back into Florida State territory. Next play, apparently they knew that they were going to throw flea flicker at him at some point, but I guess they didn't know it was going to happen at that point. But Malachi Toney and Carson Beck hook up on a fantastic catch and throw, and I don't know. The game changed. I don't know if it didn't become out of control at that point, but that was definitely a deflating moment. Any other sort of situations come to the front of your mind? And I guess where are you at right now thinking back on that 4th and 8 decision?
Yeah, you're at the 41. You have not punted much all season. When the kid that you do have as a punter had a chance like this against Alabama, he punted it 4 yards into the end zone. So you're like, okay, you're going to punt it here, and then the ball's at the 20. So you're gaining 20 yards of field position. Is that really worth it when you have the ball, you're behind, you do like your offense, and I think you really like this play that you have. They weren't right to like it, but they really did like the play, and I think it's the element of surprise. It's really a cool thought process in theory. Like I always say, communism in theory works out perfectly. We all share the wealth.
Yes.
But it never works out like that, does it, gang? This, in theory, looking to the sideline, because it is the spot where you would try to get somebody to jump off sides, right? Because at 4th and 8, you get them to jump off sides. You pretend that you're doing a hard count. They let up because they're like, oh, they're just trying to get us to jump off sides. They're all looking to the sideline. We can relax. Oh, wait, they just snapped the ball. And the reason you would think they're trying to get you to jump off sides, because 4th and 3 at the 36, you definitely go for it, right?
Oh, yeah.
And if you don't, it's a makeable field goal. So it makes sense to try to get them to jump. You call a timeout, and then you come back out. It looks like you're trying to get them to jump, and if they don't jump, it's going to be a delay game. It gets more room to punt, all that. I think that's what you're thinking. And Tommy's looking to the sideline. They're all looking to the sideline. He claps, and the ball is snapped. It is a trick play, kind of. It didn't work out because he got hit as he was throwing it. So it was almost like you tricked your own lineman a little bit. So it didn't work out great. And Tommy made a bad throw late as he got hit.
Bad throw,
and not only
decision.
did it not work out, it wasn't a bad decision because it was 4th down. Like, you have to throw the ball. You can't eat a sack. He could have thrown it to Sawchuk maybe, and maybe Sawchuk gets it. But Sawchuk's back is to the defense. He'll have to probably break a tackle. But, yes, Sawchuk was open right there. So I don't know he had to throw the ball. You can't eat a sack on 4th and 8. But it's just he hit the dude in stride. So he returns it 40 yards. So instead of worst-case scenario, they have the ball at their own 40, now you're 44, and then the next play they're in your end zone. So you go from going for it on 4th and 8, thinking there's a little risk here, but not a ton, to literally 2 plays later, you're down by 11 points. And I just felt like that was the game. That turned the game around. Now, maybe a more mentally strong team would have answered, or a better team maybe, would have answered better than Florida State did, but they didn't. I thought after that play, they completely panicked. And they started trying to make too many plays. I think Kromoff fumbled soon thereafter.
Yep.
It just was a nightmare after that until the 4th quarter. I'm not a big fan of punting at a team's 41 if you don't trust your punter. And so like I said on the Warchant rap, I think if Mastromanno's the punter, they're absolutely punting it. Because you pin them at the 4, yeah, man, that you're hoping to get the ball back at midfield, and then you just start right back over. But I just don't think they trusted him to be able to down him inside the 5. Now that's an issue, sure, but that's why I was saying there's more to it than just what the book says, what you should do or not do, or all that. So anyway, that was that play. When you look at that game. Everybody watching saw that the Miami defensive line was very good, and they presented a whole bunch of problems. If Tommy makes some throws, though, in the first 3 quarters, or makes better decisions, who knows how it goes? Like, I didn't have like I said, he had to throw that ball in the 4th down play. You can't, you have to throw it. You have to get rid of it. That second interception is just an all-time horrible interception. And it was funny when we talked to Gus on Sunday about it. He wasn't lamenting it. He wasn't throwing Tommy under the bus. But you could tell he still couldn't believe it. Even he brought it up. I want to say 3 or 4 times, almost unsolicited. And he wouldn't say like, "Oh, horrible play, horrible decision." He's like, "Yeah, we're at their plus 37, and we kind of just give them the ball on 1st down. You'd like to throw it away right there." It's like, yeah, you would. That's in no world. Is he going to complete that pass to Squirrel White? In no world. And what made it even more frustrating is earlier in that drive, he misses Squirrel White on an in route that is a 75-yard touchdown. I don't know if you could see it on TV. I don't know if they showed the replay. The safety comes over the top, and if Squirrel catches it in stride, there is nobody in the middle of the field, and nobody's catching him. And it's 21-3, but you just hit now, and then that would have made it 21-10, or maybe you go for 2 there. I don't know. I don't know what the book says. And you've all of a sudden just hit a 75-yard touchdown, and you've got some real momentum, and the place is going to be electric. Now, they're just probably going to give it to Malachi Toney, and the place will get quiet again. But in that moment, that place would have been electric, and Tommy just makes a bad rush throw, which you can understand because he was getting hit a lot, but he's just got to he's got to play better in those moments against those types of teams. So that was very disappointing. They didn't run the ball well, but why would they? No. Miami's good. I will say this, though, as I lament the mistakes that Tommy made. You brought it up on Sunday, Aslan. That hit he takes on the sideline.
Yeah.
I mean, the kid is tough as nails, man. He's just a tough son of a gun. He's 5'11" or 10 or whatever and thinks he's 7'5". I really do. And the way he battled and fought, he must have been exhausted after the game. And I know he's not 100%. We can all tell he's not 100%. He's still running all over the field, making plays, making some unbelievable plays in the fourth quarter. Just unbelievable throws and runs. And when it mattered most on fourth down, not when it mattered most, sorry, it was 28-3. But in the fourth quarter, he's making big-time plays and big-time throws. And
Still competing, yeah. Still competing.
Yeah, right. And so I don't want to lose sight of that. Like, I just think I just hope it wasn't all for naught and it didn't mean anything. If they can build upon that and kind of really, show.
That's hard, man. It's hard. That's a Miami game, to come out of that with a moral victory in terms of we closed strong. I don't know how that.
But it could, right? And it doesn't matter if we think it's a moral victory.
I could have Taylor Swift come play my wedding too. Maybe I just don't know how likely that is.
Well, probably pretty likely. Have you reached out?
Probably a little more likely.
Just reach out, man.
Well, here, not to try. I don't want to derail this, but just to stay on the.
No, just real quick. I want to get this sentence out. Yeah. I hope they feel some pride in that, and they can carry it over along with a lot of confidence, because I think their confidence was in the effing tank going into that fourth quarter, and it could have derailed the season. But they did score 19 points in the fourth quarter. They still can look at that film and say, you know what, if we just make a few plays here or there, we win this game. We are still the best offense in the country. Now, I'm not saying anybody listening to this has to believe that, but if they believe it, that's important. You don't, once you lose confidence, the season is a wrap. So I just hope that fourth quarter helped instill something in them.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, it's so hard. We'll see how Mike sounds on Monday. Maybe his tone and his tenor gives us a little bit of an insight into how that locker room is feeling. But to kind of double back to Tommy here, though, how much of what Saturday night was is just kind of part of the Tommy Castellanos experience? Like, Bill O'Brien put what is it called? The restrictor plate. Shout out. I'm a NASCAR guy. Like, Bill O'Brien tried to put the restrictor plate on him. Like, we're going to keep you in the pocket. You're going to protect the football. We're going to win by playing smart football. And that really wasn't his bag. The year prior with Jeff Hafley in 2023, he's running around doing all sorts of crazy things, just kind of playing backyard football. Like, a guy that did not really play traditional quarterback in high school in the first year or so that he was in college. But you live with him. He makes these dynamic plays because he's so confident. He wants to win so bad. He wants to make the big play. He wants to go for all of it on first down, on plus territory. Like, how much of that that's what makes him great is like his aggressiveness, his desire, his ambition. But also, you're not going to be able to keep the good and then get rid of the poor decision making because, again, and Gus said it twice. I mean, this is 2 games in a row. We've had bad turnovers. Like, we need to stop doing that. And Tommy's like, we have not. No one has beat us up and beat us. We've beat ourselves. And I say, well, brother, man, like this is what's been your MO, and you've been great. There's all this part of your game too, where it's the ball is a little bit too laissez-faire in your mind. I wonder how much of this is just what we have to deal with, kind of.
It is. You have to live with some of this. This is it's the agony and the ecstasy of the Tommy Castellanos experience. Because I will say this. It didn't come to fruition against Miami. It should come to fruition maybe against everybody else you play, with the exception of the Death Valley and the Swamp because of those two defenses. But the reason you ran for 256 yards against Virginia is not because you're loaded with great running backs. It's because of who your quarterback is. His presence alone changes everything that a defense is looking at and trying to defend. And he also runs for 70 yards a game in these games. I don't know what he ran for against Miami. Probably a 60, right?
57.
I know he had a
57.
How much?
57 on 16 carries.
Yeah, and probably 3 sacks. So I don't know what the sack yardage was, but probably
2 sacks,
70 yards.
19 yards is what they got credited with.
Okay, so 76 positive yards, 76 yards rushing, and then 2 sacks for minus 19. You're not run. I don't know that Sawchuk and Roydell and Crowmaw, you're not just going to run over teams if that guy's not your quarterback. But they do have one of the best rushing offenses in the country. We can't be so focused on what they didn't do against Miami. It could just be a one-off because they've looked good running the ball against everybody else.
But if you turn the ball over, though, that's the problem, right?
Right. Well, yes. So the turnover against Virginia was indefensible. The one by the 5-yard line, just completely careless. And then the one to squirrel in the end zone when they're down 21-3 is completely defenseless, or indefensible.
Defensible. That was the last play of the game. Yeah, they had to.
I'm talking about the one against Miami. I'm sorry. The one against Virginia, yeah, that's not a turnover. The game's over. He's just throwing it in the end zone to try to make a play. No, I would have liked anybody on the team to realize it wasn't 4th and goal in that overtime. You know what I mean? You could have just tried to get the first down instead of just throwing it in the end zone every play, but whatever. So, yes, the turnover at the 5-yard line against Virginia, the turnover in the end zone, throwing it to Squirrel White, horrible. But you're gonna live with some of that if you get the results that you might get the rest of the season. Like, we'll see, man. What if they put up 500 yards against Pitt?
You know, he ain't getting any healthier. He's not getting any healthier. I don't know how much better he's going to look against Pitt in terms of his body, whether that ankle's bothering him, whether he's got ribs that are bothering him after some of the hits he took against Miami. So I wonder if
I think you're going to hit more big plays against Pitt because of the way they play defense. I think that, again,
yes, they're aggressive. They're going to bring plenty of people, plenty of times.
Whether he's 100% healthy or not, he's still healthy enough to make plays with his legs. Not 60-yard runs, but he can make plays with his legs, which makes the defense focus on him, which should open up your running game. It's just Miami could do something about it. I don't know that Pitt can. I don't know that Stanford can or Wake can. So that's why I'm saying the reason that you're one of the best rushing offenses in the country isn't because you got a bunch of NFL offensive linemen, and it isn't because you got a bunch of NFL running backs. It's because you got a quarterback that can really move and really impacts the way a defense has to prepare and focus on. And so every time he makes a throw that you're like, what in the world was that, dude? My man Jalen Lucas is open. You just threw it in the student section. Come on, Tommy. Understand that his impact still is going to result in a lot of positive plays, mostly positive plays for the offense. He is going to make some mistakes that you're just like, ugh. But, look, it's not the 90s anymore. You're not going to have perfect quarterbacks all the time and perfect offenses. And I think the good outweighs the bad by a large percentage with this quarterback for now.
Yeah.
I just worry about his confidence level. That's why I really hope he takes something out of that fourth quarter. And I just hope they can look – I just hope they flush the Miami game as an offense. The defense just needs to pick it up, period. But if the offense can just flush the Miami game and say that's a one-off, we're the best team in the country, we proved it in that fourth quarter, we had too many mistakes, we beat ourselves, we shot whatever lies they have to tell themselves. We shot ourselves in the foot. It was all us. We should have scored 50. As long as they feel like they're the best offense in the country, they can play against Pitt and show real confidence, I feel like they're going to have a good season. I really do think it comes down to that offense. The defense is kind of what it is. I think the offense, when it's good, it's really darn good, and it can carry them to 8 or 9 wins at least.
What about the defense, Corey? Holding Miami to 28. I don't know if what you would have thought had you known on Friday or Saturday morning that Miami was, only quote unquote going to score 28 points, how that would have made you feel. But I guess the manner in which they scored, I mean, maybe the number doesn't look that bad, but not being able to get Carson Beck turned over, which, by the way, torpedoed our pick'em on Underdog Fantasy Sports.
Yeah.
We went 3 for 4. It's all good. It's all good, though. But
did he almost throw an interception? I feel like there was one that he almost threw that somebody broke on and just couldn't get to it, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
He only threw like 6 incompletions, so.
And what was that, 4th and 8? Was that 4th and 8 for them too, that ridiculous arcing ball they threw? But, defensively, Miami's vaunted run game, this vaunted offensive line looked no better than what Alabama's vaunted offensive line looked against them in the first game. So that was almost as surprising as Florida State not showing up emotionally, it felt like, for those first 3 quarters. So the defense did some good things, but ultimately, I guess maybe just the way that some of those, the Tony touchdowns and then C.J. Daniels taking a 3rd and 6, whatever it was, screen pass, like housing it from 40 yards out. I guess just like those, the bad looks so bad that it's hard to maybe focus on the positives from the defense.
Yeah, I thought they did play. I think Tony White on Sunday was right. I thought they did bring the physicality. I think they did play hard. I think Miami wanted to run the ball and couldn't, and they got frustrated by it. And then they just started throwing screen passes to really fast guys, and you couldn't stop them. But I was encouraged by that. I thought they did play the run really well, because you were really worried. We were all, not you, everyone was really worried about what we saw in Charlottesville. And then to come out and hold that team to, I'm going to guess, was probably their lowest rushing yardage of the season. And it wasn't like they weren't trying to run the ball. They just you made it kind of hard on them. But you got to give up something when you're doing that. And you gave up, you put so much concentration on stopping the run that, as Tony White said, their run game basically became those quick screens out wide. And those you didn't tackle well. It's a hard ask, man. It's a hard ask to have, like, I don't know, Elijah Herring or Justin Cryer or any of these guys trying to run with these dudes. It's hard. Those guys are really good, and they're going to score points on everyone, and they have. You held them to 28, though. Although you wonder, like, would you be able to stop them in the fourth quarter if it was a close game? If it was 28-25, would you be able to get off the field? Because they did shut it down to try to run clock in the fourth quarter.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't want to dismiss that either, because you did get off the field in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, before that, though, so here we go. Their first drive was a punt, Miami. Then they go touchdown, 9-play, 79, touchdown on the turnover, flea flicker. Then they punt, and then, first drive.
It's 14-3 at half.
Yeah,
right?
So, like, your defense hung in there. Like, it wasn't like Miami was just doing what they wanted.
And I think they converted on their last 2 touchdown drives, they converted 4th downs.
Yeah.
So you didn't get off the field because there's 4 downs, but you did make them go for it on 4th down. They just kept converting, and it's a bit of a bummer, clearly. But I wasn't upset with the way the defense played. They gave up. I was upset with the way they tackled in space on some of those guys, but I can promise you, Malachi Tony is going to make a lot of people look dumb for the next decade.
Dude, that kid's special.
And the other guy's not bad either. And they got a good dude throwing to him and an offensive line that can protect them. So that's a good team. It's a good team.
It's just crazy because I felt like if you would have said, let's get into a explosive play competition, you'd be like, sign me up if you're a Florida State fan. Yeah. But for some reason, Miami was the one that was able to generate more explosive plays than you were, which is crazy because you came with the number 1 rated offense, like Carson Beck. They played sloppy against Florida. They played passive against Notre Dame in the second half, almost blew that game. So you figured the best thing for Florida State would be, all right, then just don't allow these long, huge, time-consuming drives. And they really didn't. I mean, Miami scored on these explosive plays. You're like, all right, get the ball back in your offense's hands, and you will win a game if you have to outscore them. But the offense obviously did not carry their weight. So, I mean, defensively, it's hard. I don't want to give them too much credit, but it felt like to a certain degree they kind of probably did enough for you to win the game if your offense played to its potential, but they didn't ultimately.
Yeah, and that's what when we asked Tony White about that, the trick play, the flea flicker, and he's like, look, that one doesn't bother me as much. He goes, we knew a play like that was coming. That's why we had 3 safeties on the field. I don't think he knew it was going to be a flea flicker. He thought after a turnover they were going to take a shot.
Yeah.
Is what he was saying. I don't know that he worded it correctly, but he knew that was going to be like a shot play after a turnover, and that's why they had 3 safeties on the field. It's just 2 of them bit, Earl Little and I guess Kirkland, jump up when they see the ball go to the running back, and then Edwin Joseph is kind of one-on-one with Tony, and that was just a mismatch because it's a mismatch with everyone. And it's a good throw and it's a touchdown. He wasn't upset with that nearly as much as he is on like a 4th and 5 play where they just run an 8-yard curl in and it goes 40 yards to the house because people take bad angles or they're not where they're supposed to be and they're misaligned and they miss a tackle, all that stuff. That's what he was most upset about. But we know this defense has limitations, right? Like, the linebackers aren't great. Other than Darrell Jackson, the defensive line isn't great yet. We'll see what the Desirs and Kevin Wynn end up being.
That's the thing, though. We thought the limitation was up front, and up front they did all right. They stopped the run game. The back end we thought was good.
Well, yeah, but you think about these passing. I know they hit a couple over the top, but most of their passing, their big passing, their chunk plays were near the line of scrimmage or in the middle of the field. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Where it's like it felt like they took advantage of some of your limitations, maybe. But They might not be many other teams that can do that, I guess is what I would say. I wish they would have played with that physicality in Charlottesville. I want to see if they play with that same kind of physicality this Saturday. If they do, they will beat Pitt. But if they come out and go through the motions, which, again, we have no idea what they're going to do, if they go through the motions, they can lose that game. And if they lose that game, holy moly. So I was okay with the defense. Like you said, it was only 14 at the half. I think Miami only ran 23 plays in the first half. I think they only had 14 first downs for the game, and you had 29.
Dude, Castellanos had 61 plays, 45 dropbacks, 16 runs. Miami as a team had 59 total plays.
That's that's crazy. And what Florida State have, like 86?
83. Yeah.
83. I think. I think Deuce was on the field for 80 of them.
God, he is an Iron Man, dude. He is.
Yeah, it was a bummer late in that fourth quarter where he's got a step on that ball towards the end zone for what would have been one of their biggest play of the game, explosive. He was just out of gas, you could tell, and he went to the sideline. But again, I want to go back. I think Randy Pittman is a football player.
Yeah.
I think Tommy Castellanos is a tough son of a gun that is going to make more plays for you than the other team by a wide margin. He is going to be a net positive as this season goes on, as long as they don't let this 2 losses just completely deflate their confidence. I think Deuce Robinson is a dude.
Yeah.
And maybe LaWayne McCoy's a guy. Know what I mean? I like seeing LaWayne McCoy make some plays.
Tier 1. And he wasn't throwing up the U after the game, everybody. He was throwing up the 305. Get off his back. He's from down there. He can do that.
Yeah, he was posing with the other
Tony.
Kid, right?
Yeah.
And they were throwing up the 3. Yeah, that's where social media.
Dalvin threw it up, everybody. Remember? Orange Bowl 2016 threw it up. That's what they were doing.
Yeah, but and then Jordan Travis retweeted it. And then he came back and said, I was proving to everyone he wasn't throwing up the 3.
Right.
He wasn't doing the U. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Maybe you were. But it just goes on Twitter, and then Wayne McCoy becomes a pariah. When he didn't throw up the U, he was doing a 305 after the game.
He defended himself. Yeah, he tweeted back at people. That's good. So good for LaWayne, for Weezy.
Good, yeah, because it was ridiculous. And somebody posted that thinking he's doing that from behind. And most of you probably have no idea what we're talking about because you're smart and you're not on Twitter. But there was a picture of behind Tony and McCoy after the game where you see it looks like McCoy has his right hand up as if he's doing a U sign. But if you see the actual picture, not from behind where you can only see a third of what he's doing.
Fingers.
Yeah, he's doing the 305. So it was crazy. I felt bad for that kid for those 2 hours until we even heard about it on Saturday night. And that was just not the case. He was not throwing up the U. It would have been crazy if he was throwing up the U, and he wasn't. So that's why. And then I want to say this, too, because Jordan Travis was on Twitter on Sunday. And I don't – again, it's Twitter. And emotions are raw after you lose a rivalry game and you've lost 2 in a row. But I don't remember the exact tweet. But it was something and he's got a lot of followers. This is why I bring this up. And he's an all-time great Seminole, great ambassador for the program. I hope he's a part of the program soon, like in an official capacity. But he's on Twitter talking about all you guys want to do is fire the coach. How about you give him more money so he can get better players or something to those lines?
I think he deleted something about you guys told him to give up play calling responsibility.
Yes.
He does. You tell him to fire the defensive coordinator. He does. Like, how about you just kind of like chill out? But I think he deleted that.
Well, if he deleted that one, that's good. But he also that one didn't bother me. It was the one about because I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that sentiment. Like he did take a step back. He did hire 2 good coordinators. And they might end up having a really good season after the disaster of a year ago. So it's way too early to start saying this is it. Yeah. Understanding I just said 45 minutes ago that he's basically coaching for his life this week. But he is. Not because a third loss would mean he's definitely getting fired. I just think it would portend to at least 3 more losses or 2 more losses. Yeah. And then 7-5, which is really 5-5 because you were gifted 2 wins. That's a horrible look when you start out 3-0. But anyway, he tweeted something like he needs better players. He needs more money to get a better roster. And it's like, man, you can't tweet stuff like that to the Florida State fans that in their own way have bought this roster for him and also are paying him $10 million. Like, what world are we living in where one of the all-time great quarterbacks who got paid to play his last couple of years is lamenting the fact that his $10 million a year head coach doesn't have enough money or resources. Yuck. Yeah. Come on, man. So, yeah, that would – I hope he might not have deleted. And, look, man, I also don't know that he's wrong, but you can't come out and say that. And if Mike Norvell wants more money for a better roster, take a pay cut.
Well, he kind of did, right?
$10 million. Why are you paying coaches $10 million a year anyway right now? Well, that makes no sense. So he's not going to take a pay cut. So we'll. I know he donated some money or gave it back or whatever that weird thing was. But yeah. So anyway, but that just goes. Like, Twitter is a cesspool after a tough loss, after an emotional loss. It can all be righted. Just like they were going down the avenue of despair in 2022, Aslan, and it looked like he was probably going to be fired. Yeah. Right? Yeah. They had lost 3 in a row. All the goodwill from the extra point blocked by Shaheem and the great Johnny Wilson, Tate Rodemaker win in Louisville, it had all disappeared with 3 straight losses. And then they win 19 straight. There is a world where that can happen again. Maybe not 19 straight.
So they need to lose to Pitt, though. So that would be their 3rd loss in a row. Then
he needs to stop with the 3-game losing streaks. But, I'm saying, like, it can turn in a heartbeat.
Right.
You need that one win to get it back on track. And that should be this Saturday. And if it is this Saturday, that one win could become 3 wins, could become 5 more wins. All that is on the table. Losing to Miami, again, doesn't kill your season. Doesn't really even completely eliminate your playoff hopes. But losing to Pitt could derail it all. And Pitt is not a joke. If you weren't watching or paying attention, they beat Boston College 48-7. They had a true freshman quarterback make his first start, get his first real playing time, and throw for like 330 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. He is a cocky gunslinger that is going to try to sling it all over the place. You need to beat him. You need to beat him. You need to beat the true freshman quarterback making his first road start. But Pitt also has a defense that is 4th in the nation in tackles for loss. They always create a ton of pressure. They blitz a ton. They try to create negative plays and turnovers. And it's a scary game because it's a capable team that's coached well and might have a really good player at quarterback. We don't know. So it is an enormous game for this season and for this head coach. And if you keep winning, you could put this 2-game little blip in the rear view really quickly. And we have seen it. Yeah. That Alabama game happened in our lifetimes. We were there. They were the better team. That was not fluky in any way, shape, or form. They were the better team. The last 2 Division I teams, they have not been the better team. They need to figure it out. They get paid a lot of money, and I'm talking about the roster too, but the coaches get paid a lot of money to figure this out. There is no excuse to lose at home to Pitt. You have more resources, better players, more money, home crowd, and you should be desperate and hungry. And if you beat Pitt, we're all going to be in a good mood for maybe a few weeks or a month or maybe the rest of our lives.
I'll be in a good mood if Corey gives us some more winners over on our Underdog Fantasy Sports app. A reminder, the picks that we offered up last week, Gavin Sawchuk, 47.5 rushing yards. Lower, Corey went with everybody. He went lower on 47.5. How many yards did he rush for, Corey?
I don't know.
47.
Let's go.
47, Corey Clark.
Sorry, Gavin. Way to go, man. Way not to get that one extra yard.
Tommy, 51.5 rushing yards. Higher, Corey said, 57 rushing yards for Tommy Castellanos. Deuce Robinson, higher, 50.5 receiving yards. Corey said, higher for sure. 87 receiving yards for Deuce.
Deuce had 87 receiving yards?
Receiving yards, yeah, man. Dude, he just, all he does is catch these 17-yard, outs.
That's what, man, I meant to say it. He made some incredible catches in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
I know people don't care because the game was over. You might not even been watching. But those plays count, too. And he made some remarkable catches, which you just wondered after the sort of drop, not really drop in Charlottesville, how he would respond. And I thought the only ones he didn't catch were where he was being interfered with in the end zone. I thought he played pretty darn well for the most part and made some really nice catches.
Underdog Fantasy Sports. Go download
Was that it? So
app.
I won my bet? I won my parlay?
Well, then Carson Beck, higher on 1/2 interceptions thrown. And turns out maybe his experience was a valuable thing for Miami after all. Threw it 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. So we went 3-1 on that one. If you would have flexed it, though, you would have been okay. We're going to do it again for you folks later on in the week. But in the meantime, real quick, Corey, some Monday Night Football action I think we got. Kansas City at Jacksonville. Oh, man, the Jags, Duval. Travis Kelce, 43.5 receiving yards. Higher or lower?
Lower.
Ooh. Travis Hunter, 27.5 receiving yards.
Is he a wide receiver or a cornerback?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Has he been I guess I'm going to say higher. It's Monday night. He's gonna make his first big splash play as a pro, I guess.
Okay.
But man, it feels like he's not doing much at either.
Okay.
But I don't know. I guess I haven't watched him enough. I just thought he would be taking the league by storm, and it hasn't really happened.
Mahomes, 1.5 passing touchdowns or 252.5 passing yards.
I want to do the higher on the passing touchdowns.
Boom. All right, there we go. Put those 3 together. That gives you 5
What did I
to
say
1
for Travis
payout.
Hunter? Higher?
Higher on 27.5 receiving yards.
Oh, yeah, he's going to go crazy.
Okay, there you go. That's a 5 to 1 payout, everybody, over at Underdog Fantasy Sports. Download the app today. Sign up with the promo code WARCHANT to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code WARCHANT. Millions of fans already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks, win money. Underdog Fantasy Sports must be 18 or older, 19 or older in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 or older in Colorado for some games, 21 and older in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. We're back. It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. Corey Clark, I just want to play something for you real quick. Just going to go right to it. Just tell your emotions when you I know you can't see this, but hopefully you can hear the emotion in it.
Give a round of applause, a big cheer for the 2013 National Championship winning head coach here at Florida State, Mr. Jimbo Fisher. Coach, I see that emotion in your eyes. What are you feeling?
Brings tears to my eyes.
Come on, baby. Coach, I
Remember
love
your
this.
family growing up here and hearing that chant, and when you heard it, something to it, boy.
My brother, who's the antithesis of me, says, to wrap up last night, the message board's asking for Jimbo to come back. LOL, get a grip. Dude's done coaching elite teams. That being said, I have released all my hatred for him. The tears on TV really did it for me.
Yeah, I saw it. It was there was a cool moment. It's weird because he lives here still, so it's not like it's a great return from because he lives in West Virginia. He does live in Tallahassee, but I know he doesn't come back to the stadium a lot for games. And look, man, I think as time passes and we get further and further away from the 2013, well, 2017, but the 2013, the peak of his powers, you really do appreciate what he did, obviously. You can't not. He did great things at Florida State. It
He's a
ended
net positive.
not great at all.
He's a net positive. You cannot tell the story of this football legacy at this school
correct.
without Jimbo Fisher.
Correct. But I just want to reiterate, the people that won him, and I will say this. I will go on the record and say this because it was brought up to me quite a bit on Saturday. If Jimbo Fisher, let's say that it just goes off the rails, or this team goes 5-7, and they just decide, okay, we're going to pay Norvell to go away, and everybody wants Jimbo Fisher, I would be like, are you crazy? He got fired at Texas A&M. He got fired at Texas A&M because his offense was horrible.
$70 million. They were like, it's okay. Here's $70 million. Leave.
Yeah.
Now.
Please go because we can't watch this anymore. If he were to say, Florida State, I want to come. I won't make you pay me a lot because I know you got to pay the other guy $50 million to go away. And I will let you keep Gus Malzahn, and I will stay the F away.
Come on, Corey.
I will just recruit and evaluate talent, and I will not touch the offense at all. Hey, man, maybe. Because the guy is one of the best that's ever lived at evaluating talent. Yeah. Developing, maybe, I don't know. He developed quarterbacks for sure. But evaluating talent at every position, he was elite, clearly. And whatever he had to do to get players on campus, he did. I don't know what means he used. Don't really care anymore. Doesn't matter. But he got good players to come to Florida State. He got Derwin James and Jalen Ramsey and Dalvin Cook and Jameis Winston, Benjamin Green, Jernigan, on and on and on. He got great players to come to Florida State. He got incredible players to come to Texas A&M, and they sucked. So that's what gives me great pause about hiring someone like Jimbo Fisher if he still wants to be his own OC, because his offense was gross. Yeah. It was gross at the end of Florida State, and it was absolutely pitiful at Texas A&M, even with all those good players. But I get it. And no matter what, I can tell you this, I don't think anybody wants Dion to come anymore. That thing ain't growing great out there. Once his kids in Cleveland and Travis Hunter's in Jacksonville, that thing has fallen off the rails. And in a more somber note, he said that he's not feeling well. He's having health issues again, and he thinks blood clots are back. Damn. Which is scary stuff. Yeah. So, yeah, man, that's not good at all. I know people have their feelings towards Dion, me included, but you want him to be healthy and well, and he's very important to the history of this program. So, yeah, those are the two names that have been mentioned the most in replacing Norvell. I would say both are huge long shots. One is probably a no shot in Dion. And Jimbo, man, if he would get rid of the ego, I mean, he's always going to have an ego, but not have to call plays and be an offensive coordinator and literally have a hands-off approach, I think that would make him appealing to a bunch of schools.
What's our record if Jimbo is just doing whatever Mike's doing right now?
So just for this year, I think it's probably the same. Okay. I wonder, though, I just think, man, I mean, how could you argue that the roster wouldn't be better? Yeah. I think the biggest gripe about Mike Norvell, and it's a rightful gripe, is he is not recruited at the level that Jimbo Fisher did or that most Florida State coaches have. Well, I say most. Or
Mario Cristobal has. And that's
right.
Not even NIL. Yep. And I mean, I know NIL is obviously a huge part of like Carson Beck, but you know, I mean, they've got a lot of like homegrown grassroots freshmen that they've recruited that have emerged.
But I will say this, and I was thinking about and this is another reason, getting away from the Jimbo talk, that I just want it to go well with this season is because you look at who's out there. Kevin Wynn got to play finally. And as Tony White said, they didn't move him. He came out there and played early. And I don't know what he graded out on PFF. I think he played 13 plays. I know he didn't grade out well. Not many did.
Yeah, that offsides.
On the defensive side of the ball. Yeah, but they would have gotten it anyway. Yeah. He's trying. Don't line up offsides, though, Kevin. Come on, man. But Kevin Wynn, the Desir brothers, Boggs, McCoy, Danzy, Cromall. I know I'm missing a ton. Amari Williams. Yeah. There's some real stuff with these young players. Like more so, that gets you like, okay, could this be the core of something? Could this be the core moving forward? If you keep everything intact and you don't have to blow it up, there are some nice, intriguing pieces. And if this season does go well, the best I think you hope for this season is a 2022 type season where maybe I guess you wouldn't finish in the top 10 because that means you're in the playoffs. But maybe you finish 9-3 and you finish 15th in the country. To me right now, that is like the ceiling. The way they looked against Miami, it's hard to imagine them beating NC State, Clemson, and Florida all on the road. Yeah. It just seems implausible at this point. I hope I'm wrong. But if you go 9-3 and Tommy Castellanos looks really good for the last 7 games, you convince him to come back. You convince Randy Pittman to come back. Deuce Robinson can come back. All those other guys I just mentioned will be back. Earl Little could be back. Doesn't that kind of feel like the 2023 season again, where you're running it back with a bunch of players that people like, that are a part of the program, that have been a part of a turnaround, and maybe 2026 could be something special if you can bring back a lot of established talent that had success the year before?
That's the most eloquent explanation I've heard about, what's the upside for this season this year. Because remember, that was my whole thing when people were talking about, you went 2-10, just win 8 games, win 7 or 8 games, make a bowl. I'm like, what does that even mean in terms of building a program and getting momentum? But you laid it out there. You've finally recruited some true freshmen from high school that you probably will be able to retain at a reasonable rate. And then you keep some of these other guys that transferred in, and then you add some other pieces, and maybe a little more cohesion.
Get Malachi Toney to transfer.
Yeah.
These boys with Lawayne McCoy.
Throw up the 850 instead of the 305.
That's right. For once, somebody throw up an 850. So that's what I really wanted to go right for that reason. Because if it blows up, who knows who comes in. You have to hit the reset button. A lot of these guys are going to transfer, obviously. But I do think there is a nice core of young players that could be the start of something formidable for the next year or two. And I think if Castellanos looks better than he did Saturday night and plays at a level I think he can play and gets once another year, to go along with Crowmaw and these other guys on offense that could all come back. The offensive line will have to be new, which is an issue, of course. But I just think there's something there where you feel that they would absolutely be a playoff contender. And I'm talking about if they finish with 8 or 9 wins and they bring back most of their offense, skill guys. That's a fun team to think about. But you got to go win games for anybody to care. Nobody's going to care if these guys come back if they go 6-6. It's like, they'd rather start over than worry about keeping Kevin Wynn and the Desir twins. So hopefully, that's why I hope it doesn't happen. I hope they do. They need to win this game. As Tony White said, you just want to know this week. Yeah. Go want to know this week and then see where it goes from there. But it's a fascinating time, man. There's so many different ways it can go. But it really is like that 2022 season. That thing took off like a rocket ship out of nowhere, really. I don't think it's outlandish to think this could do the same thing. But it's certainly not a guarantee.
Jeff Cameron, 1 to 4 o'clock. Tune in. It's going to be must-listen podcasting radio. I think Ira joins him on Mondays as well, if I'm not mistaken, Corey, right? For his weekly hit.
There you go, Aslan. Yep, he the 2 o'clock hour.
There you go.
Hour number 2, he joins him. But I don't know when. I think it's in the middle, like 2:30 or so. Right. So if you don't want to hear Jeff, wait till about 2:30 and listen to Ira. But yeah, go listen to Jeff. I think he'll be measured. That's a prediction. I don't know if I'm right, but I think he'll be measured. I don't think he'll be calling for Norvell job, but I think the growing sentiment is this. Do you agree with that? Like, this is an enormous game.
Yeah.
This game coming up.
Yeah.
Like, it's the precipice almost. Like, just because if you lose this game,
you're going. Yeah, man, you're gonna, like, to your point. Like, I think right now, to even win 2 out of 3 of your remaining road games, right? I'm not counting the Stanford game, but let's say your November schedule. Even thinking about winning 2 out of 3 of those away games to me right now is like a tough sell. Yeah, I mean, you lose the Pitt, it becomes almost, you're staring at like 6-6. Oceanfront property in Arizona.
Yeah, but if you lose to Pitt, you're staring at 6-6.
Yeah.
And if you can lose to Pitt, you can lose to Wake and Virginia Tech and who knows who else. So, yeah, that's why this game is massive. And again, I just want to reiterate, the two toughest games Florida State might play all season might have been the last two. Those average at number 19 in the country, home to number 2, number 1 in the country. Those are two tough games back to back. We didn't know it at the time when the season started that Virginia was going to be this, but they have played maybe the 3 best teams they'll play all year already, and they went 1-2. So if they can beat all the teams that aren't as good as those guys, well then, yeehaw, man, let's go. We're gonna have a fun season. But of course, Florida, Billy Napier just rises from the ashes again.
Too soon. I mean, they got to go play A&M in College Station.
They're going to beat A&M. They're going to beat A&M like a drum. Take the points, everyone. Take the Gators and the points. That's the lock of the year.
They won't be able to do anything against that A&M defense.
Come on, Lagway's got something for them.
Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 4 o'clock, warchant.com, around the clock. The 3-2-1 from Ira Show fella probably also going to drop at some point on Monday. The Renegade Express mailbag thread, that's posted over on the Tribal Council. Get involved. We'll do the mailbag show for you folks on tomorrow's program. Go read Corey's column if you haven't done so already. Be a member of warchant.com. He's Corey Maslin. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. Warchant BOGO. Buy one, get one free.